let's start with someone who gets it, Bernie Sanders. He was on Face the Nation and was talking about, and I guess he's also plugging a town hall that will be on tonight with Chris Hayes in West Virginia. He's talking with John Dickerson and really gives the breakdown on healthcare. And again, I think what's really important about this, I agree. Who cares about Trump voters? But they're not the point. When you make an argument like this about appealing to impoverished voters everywhere, including in this case, people in rural counties, you're really talking to people who are disengaged from the process, who aren't voting, who are suffering and not invested. That's the much bigger conclusion of this election. Because it's true, with many Trump voters, you're not going to be able to assuage your appeal for them because it is racially motivated. It is motivated by other concerns. But there's a large swath of people who are not participating, and this is the message that is morally and politically correct.
Senator, you're going to McDowell County in West Virginia on Monday. You visited there in 2016. This is a county that voted very heavily for President Trump. It's also the poorest county in the state. What's the message to McDowell County from Democrats to a group that has felt abandoned by the Democratic Party?
Well, they have been abandoned by everybody. This is a county where life expectancy is actually going down. People are living shorter lives than their parents. Unemployment is rampant. Healthcare and education inadequate. And the point of going to McDowell County is to make the point that all over rural America, not just in West Virginia, people have been ignored for too long. We need major investments in decent jobs in parts of the area where unemployment is so high. We need to focus on health care. And by the way, the Republican plan would devastate rural America, especially states like West Virginia and Kentucky, which have done quite well in lowering the number of uninsured because of the Affordable Care Act.
That's right. And he's, of course, talking about the vicious attack on Medicaid expansion. He's talking about the vicious attack on subsidies for people who really need it with regards to the health care bill. It will hit those places the hardest, just as the Supreme Court allowing far-right governors to opt out of Medicaid expansion. That directly hit the health of very vulnerable people, including in rural America. And, in some ways, when you make that case, you're doing the political equivalent and it's different because it's substantive. It actually is a plan that Bernie Sanders advocates policies that would radically improve life for people in rural America and anyone who is poor or working class. But you're also doing a George W. Bush move, which is that when he campaigned as a compassionate conservative, he was actually banking, he really wanted to put the Hispanic vote into play, and he did. But he knew that he was going to still get completely destroyed in the African American community. And he knew that even a good margin with Hispanics was, not going to be overwhelming by any stretch of the imagination. But what you're doing, and maybe this was more relevant then with a bit more swing voters and less, certain type of public racism, which is now the de jour, you're signifying to people that you're telling a white person who might be uncomfortable with overt racism, hey, I'm not like Newt Gingrich. I'm not like the other, bogeymen of that era. And the equivalent of what Bernie, I think, is doing is just signifying that, look, I have a broader map in my mind of people that I'm thinking about. And it might include people that are not going to be in Hillary Clinton's Brooklyn campaign headquarters. And if you can't see the distinction between that and in any way compromising on totalitarianism, racism, sexism, xenophobia, transphobia, or homophobia, that's ridiculous. And I've seen people say this, and I know that sometimes Bernie doesn't articulate things elegantly, but he has not once tipped his hat to bigotry. He's just said that people in these places are in play, and he has a national policy that will affect and improve everyone's lives nationally. And if any party or organization was in desperate need of a national message and also had one waiting there like a giant fist in its face, it's the Democratic Party. If they'll ever get it, we shall see.
Hey folks, Sam Seder here. Donald Trump can kiss all of our asses. And one way he can is by you subscribing to this channel. I don't know how that works.